Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Atha Tritiyodhyayah Karma Yoga. So this is chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, and the name given by the acharyas to this chapter is Karma Yoga. And this concept is explained by Lord Krishna in essence in the previous chapter itself, in chapter 2 itself. Chapter 2 is the essence of all the ideas and concepts explained by Lord Krishna in the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the essence of this Bhagavad Gita itself. So what all is discussed there, said by Lord Krishna in chapter 2, is explained in detail in the rest of the Bhagavad Gita and the rest of all these 16 chapters. Karma Yoga is also explained there in essence, in a nutshell. But in this chapter, he explains it in detail. The last chapter, that is the chapter 2, started with the advice of Lord Krishna. And he asked Arjuna to just discard this weakness of mind. Shudram hridaya daurbalyam tektvo tishta parantava. He asked just to discard this weakness of mind and get up to the situation. He asked Arjuna. And then he explained the nature of the self, the nature of the Atma as indestructible. And so the people who you fight against, they are all that self and not the body or the form which you see with your naked eyes. Then he explained the concept of dehi, that is the indwelling self in the body. And he said that once when the prarabdha karmas are over, this jiva or this dehi, it will discard this body and go out of this body and take another body according to its prarabdha karma. So he said that self cannot be destroyed. So why do you fear to go to the battle? So just do your duty. And he asked Arjuna to do swadharma. One should do their own duty. And one should accept the result, whatever it is, while doing their duty. Any person must do their own duty, and he must train the mind to accept the result, whatever it is. Lord Krishna started the Karma Yoga in the last chapter by telling Arjuna that one has the right to choose the action and not the result. And one's motive should not be the result. At the same time, one should not be attached to inaction also. He started the Karma Yoga with these verses. And he asked Arjuna to train the mind to accept the result, whatever it is. And he praised the wisdom, what this wisdom is, that is the Buddhi Yoga. One should do the action without any attachment, then he will attain liberation. And he praised the mind of the sthita prajna. That is the person who has this knowledge, wisdom, jnana, this wisdom of the self and the Atma and the soul. All this he praised, that he said is the wisdom. A person who is steady in this wisdom, he is the sthita prajna, and he praised the intellect of the sthita prajna in the last few verses of chapter 2. And he ended the chapter 2 with telling Arjuna about the videha mukti. A person who is steady in this intellect, at the end of his life, he will attain liberation. He will become Brahman. So he said about the weakness of mind, he said about the self, Atma, Dehi, and he said about the Videha Mukti also. So hearing all this in the center of the battlefield, Arjuna is completely confused. He's totally confused, just like all of us. Even when we read the Bhagavad Gita first time, we will be confused. Why Lord Krishna is telling about the karma, then he is telling about the mukti, and he is telling about Brahman. So just like as Arjuna also, he got confused. And he asked Lord Krishna the following questions. And the third chapter begins with the question of Arjuna to Lord Krishna. Let us see what he asks. He is asking on behalf of all of us. Jayase chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatking karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Arjuna is telling, Lord Krishna, you are telling that knowledge is superior than action. If knowledge is superior, why are you asking me to do this ghora karma? Why are you asking me to do this terrible karma, to fight in the battle and kill all my relatives and my guru and my grandparents, all that? Why are you asking me to do this, Keshava? If knowledge is better, I will very well go home and sit in a place and practice that or attain mukti by that. If not, I will go to any forest and sit for meditation. So why are you asking me to do this terrible act? He didn't end with that. Again he asked, Vyamishrenev vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me tadekam vada nischitya yena shreyohamapnuyam. He is asking that your words are so perplexing and it confuses my mind, Krishna. What you said may be right for a jnani, but for me, an ordinary person, it is just confusing. It's just confusing my mind. Now tell me, Nischitya, tell me one thing. What is better for me? Shreya, for me, what is better? Knowledge or karma? In the middle of this warfield, you are telling me about the jnana and you are asking me to fight, do the action, do the duty. So what should I do now? Tell me one thing, not both of them. One thing that is better for me. See, when Lord Krishna tells this Bhagavad Gita, he knows the mind of Arjuna and he knows also how he will be confused. Because only out of confusion a clear idea will come. In practical life also it's like that. So that's why it's not to make the mind of Arjuna confused. Lord Krishna didn't tell this Gita to make him confused. But when we listen, we have so many preoccupied decisions in our mind. That's the greatest problem. When we listen, we just don't listen with an open mind. Listening is an art. It has to improve, evolve. The first time when we hear something about anything about in the class or in the spiritual discourses or whatever it is, we will have a predetermined or pre-conclusion in our mind about the chapter or the book or the person who give this advice or lecture. We have a predetermined conclusion in our mind, and all our hearing, all our listening will go through that filter. So this confuses us a lot. In ordinary world also, when we hear something, when we listen to something, we pass our knowledge passes through these predetermined conclusions. So that is why what we in Shastras they say Shravana, little by little we have to improve the concentration and listen to anything with an open mind. If we have a pre-conclusion or a decision in our mind about the chapter or about the topic which the other people say, then we will not grasp the correct point. That's what happened to Arjuna also. He is not able to grasp anything completely for what Lord Krishna said, and it's the problem of ourselves also. And it's a common problem. We do not understand Gita all of a sudden. Still, each time when we read, we derive new ideas from it. That itself is a proof that we have not understood the words of Lord Krishna completely. To a long extent, we understand with the help of a guru. But certain points we have to put in our mind, analyze again and again, then we will understand. So the same problem occurred with Arjuna also, and that also he is in a very tensed state of mind because he is in the center of the battlefield. Now let us see what Lord Krishna tell about this, or how he answers the question of Arjuna. Bhagavan uvacha loke'smindvividha nistha pura prokta mayanagha yogena sankhyanam karmayogena yoginam. Lord Krishna very patiently gives this answer. Lord Krishna says, Pura, that is in the ancient time, I gave two nistha, that is two paths for the people of the world. I said about two paths. One is the path of jnana and other is the path of karma. In the path of jnana, not all will be suitable for it. The people who are the Sankhyas, that is the people who are interested in the Atma, they are suitable for that. So they can follow that path, and the ordinary people, all the other people, they can follow the path of karma because all have to do karma. And why not do it as a yoga? So I just said two paths for the people of the world, and one is the jnana marga and the other is the karma marga. And he explains that na karmana manarambhat naishkarmyam purushoshnute na cha sanyasya na deva siddhim samadhigacchati. Lord Krishna says that the non-performance of action cannot be accepted as actionlessness of karma yoga. At the same time, renouncing everything, by renouncing everything alone, one will not attain liberation. Some people, in the name of doing karma yoga, they just don't perform any action. That cannot be accepted as actionlessness, because while that time your mind will be very active and it will be churning out ideas, but actually in the mind the first action is completed in the mind itself. Only what the mind decides the body will perform. So that non-performance of action cannot be accepted as actionlessness, and at the same time renouncing everything cannot be accepted as jnana also, because he will not have that wisdom in the mind. In some places, in the religious places, we often see, in India, we often see that many people, sannyasis, they tell themselves as sannyasis, and they just sit in a place idle without doing anything and just living on the alms they get. So all the time they are actionless, and at the same time they have renounced also. We suppose they have renounced everything, but they do not have that wisdom. They do not have the knowledge of the self. So it's difficult for them to attain liberation if they don't improve themselves. So that is what Lord Krishna says here. Just being without doing any action cannot be considered as actionlessness. And at the same time, renouncing everything, one will not attain liberation. Nahi kaschik kshanamabhi jadu tishtatya karma krita karyate hyavashah karma sarva prakriti jaygunaihi. Lord Krishna says, not even a kshana, not even a moment or a second, one cannot remain without performing action. Because we are all born out of Prakriti. And the Prakriti has three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So, in a person, one guna will be dominating and followed by the other two gunas. If you just sit like that without performing any action, then only our tamo guna increases. That is not suitable for liberation. One has to be, in the last chapter, Lord Krishna said, one has to overcome all these three gunas, and for that one has to be established in the sattva guna. So, not even a second, a person can remain actionless because we are helplessly made to act because we are born out of Prakriti. And the nature of the Prakriti, that is the three gunas, will make us to act. So that's what Lord Krishna says. Karmendriyani samyamya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara sa uchyate. Very clearly, Lord Krishna says that restraining only the organs of action, but at the same time, manasa smaran, thinking continuously about the sense objects. A deluded person, that deluded person is said as a mithyachara. Mithyachara means a hypocrite. That's the correct translation of the word. The person do one thing while thinking about the other thing. He is definitely a confused person. He is not a person with wisdom. The organs of action are vak, that is the speech. Then pani, that is the hands. Padam, the legs. Upastha, the genital organs. Ghuda, excretory organs. So these five are the organs of action. And the organs of knowledge are the eyes, with which we see, the ears with which we hear, the two nostrils, that is to smell, tvak, the skin, and taste sense. So these are the indriyas, five indriyas, the organs of knowledge, and these are the five indriyas. So just controlling the organs of action, just without doing any action, by controlling the organs of action. At the same time, in the mind, if we always think about the sense objects, then he is said as the mithyachara and he is not said as a jnani. Yastvindriyani manasa niyamyarabhate'rjuna karmendriya karmayogam asakta savishishyate. Lord Krishna says that is by the mind, manasa indriyani, that is by the mind, if you control the five senses, and at the same time, with the organs of action, if you perform a karma, any action, without any attachment, then he excels in karma yoga. Then he is fit for attaining this knowledge and liberation. So the senses, the five senses, should be controlled by the mind. At the same time, with the organs of action, one must perform an action. At the same time, without any attachment for that action, then he excels in this yoga. Niyatam kuru tvam jyayo hyakarmanah sharira yatra pichate na prasiddhyeda karmanah. Here Lord Krishna says, he's very conscious about telling that one should not be idle, that one should not remain without doing any action. He's very particular about that. Again and again he emphasizes this point. Lord Krishna, maybe one may misunderstand this actionless for not performing this action. So even in the last chapter, Lord Krishna emphasized on the importance for doing action. One should not remain inactive at any point of time. That's what he again and again emphasizes. And in this verse, he tells about the same thing. If you cannot do that, any action as a karma yoga, if your mind is not trained to do that, then do the niyatam karma, that is the obligatory duties which we have to do anyway. Do your daily karma, at least do that, because at least by that your body needs will be satisfied. Because if you just sit in a place without doing any action, thinking that it is karma yoga, then that will just spoil our mind, because all the time the mind will be active, and if you do not perform any action, that is very that will not, it will not lead us to any point. So what Lord Krishna says is, at least do the obligatory duties. Obligatory duties are that is the niyatam karma. Obligatory duties are that if you perform that duties, you will not get any credit for it. But at the same time, if you do not perform it, then you will be demerited for it. You will be slandered for not doing it. Just like going to the battle, in the middle of the battlefield, Arjuna has this doubt. These are all his obligatory duties. He has to do that. And we ordinary people have many obligatory duties. For a very small example of it is, every day we have to clean ourselves and make ourselves pure and clean. So if we do not do it, it's a demerit for us. But if you do it, we will not get any credit. So this is a very small example in our day-to-day life. So at least do that. Don't be inactive. Even we have seen a lot of people even in this modern world, they get up not early in the morning, 8 or 9 o'clock, they get up, they just sit in a table or in a garden with a cup of coffee or tea, just pass time for 1 hour or like that, telling that they are taking rest. So these are all inaction. And in some places, even in rural villages, they will put a coir cot in the front of their house and they just sit on it without doing any action. So these are all termed as inaction. So all the time the mind will be active, only the organs of action is restrained. So this Lord Krishna strongly opposes this action, in this inaction. And again he says, yajnatharkarmano'nyatra loko'yam karmabandhanah tadartam karma kaunteya mukta samachara. Lord Krishna says, but the best thing is to do an action as a sacrifice. In that way, you are not bound by that action. In this world, whatever action you do, even the obligatory duties if you do, that will bind you. That will give a result, and we will have likes and dislikes. But we all have likes and dislikes even in doing the duty. That's what I said. Some people, they will be so lazy in the morning time itself without doing their duty. So it's because of their dislikes to do their duty. So in this world, whatever action you do, you will be bound by that. If you do not want to be bound by that action, then do that action as a sacrifice. That is, which means do it for the sake of God or for the sake of doing action. Don't do it for the selfish reason. That's what Lord Krishna says, emphasizes. Do it as the Ishwararpana. At least do it for the sake of God. Just like what the very famous verse, which all of us, I believe, all of us chant every day, that is the Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana va prakriti swabhavan karomi yatyat sakhalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayami. Whatever we do with the mind, with the buddhi, with the vak, with the indriyas, with the influence of the prakriti, whatever action we do, I surrender it on the feet of Sriman Narayana. That's the meaning of this verse. So just like that, whatever you do, at least surrender it to the feet of Lord. Ishwararpanam, Narayanarpanam. Then we will not be bound by the action. At the same time, we will get the desired result also. But that result or action will not bind us. So first Lord Krishna tells about the karma yoga. Do any action as a yoga. If you do not have that maturity of the mind, at least do the daily duties. Don't fail to do the duties. Don't be inactive. But better than that is doing the duty and surrendering it to the feet of Lord. As a sacrifice, do it. Don't do it for the selfish reason. Then also, Lord Krishna gives many options. Let us see. Saha yajna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishtyaध्वं yeshavostvishta kamadukh. Lord Krishna says, still, if you are interested in the result, then you can take this option. Lord Krishna says, when the creator, Prajapati, that is Lord Brahma, when he created this world, he created it together with the sacrifice, yajna, sacrifice. So, you have to do a sacrifice, then the result of it will be, surely you will receive the result. Just like a kamadenu, just like that was the Prajapati propagated. Let this sacrifice satisfy all your desires, just like a kamadenu. That is, the kamadenu is the divine cow which satisfy all the desires. So Lord Brahma said, when he created the praja, along with it he created the sacrifices, and he said, to attain a particular result, if you are desirous of the result, then do this as sacrifice, then the result is sure. So that Lord Krishna says. That is, if you for doing the kamya karma. All he said, first he said about the karma yoga, do any action as a yoga. Then he said, do the obligatory duties, our daily duties, don't be inactive. Then he said, do any karma as a sacrifice, not for selfish reason, at least to surrender it to the Lord. Do it as a sacrifice. Then he is giving this option, that is, doing a yajna, you can get the desired result. It is for the kamya karmas. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreya paramavapstyatha. That is, by this way, the devas, to whom we have to do the sacrifice? To the devas. Devas are the Indra Deva, Surya Deva, Varuna Deva, Vayu Deva, Agni Deva. These are the devas. Like this, there are many devas for the desired result. If you want a particular result, then we have to do a yajna, sacrifice for that particular deva. That is, we have to do the yajna and give that ahuti to that Agni, then the Agni Deva, the duty of the Agni Deva is to carry our intention, our desire, our motive, everything, our desire mainly to that concerned Deva. Then that Deva will give us the result. It is all the transfer of this subtle vibrations. That's what how we describe this in science. Many yogis and acharyas, they have explained the meaning of the yagna in their work. That is, in their by meditation, they have understood the meaning of this yagna and they have explained it. So it is all the transfer of the vibration, our mental vibration will be carried away by the Agni, the vibration of the Agni to that concerned Deva, and we will get the result. The result is sure if we do that yagna. What Lord Krishna says is, you will give that sacrifice, that yagna. By that yagna, the gods will be nourished and they will give you the result. So in that way, you will also be nourished. So it is parasparam, in mutual way of goodness for both of us, for the gods as well as for the human beings. So perform any sacrifice and get the result. That is for the people who have kamya karma. Again he says, very important point he says, istanbhogan hi wo devaha dasyante yajnabhavitah taidattana pradaryebhyah yo bhungte stena yevasa. What Lord Krishna says is, if you enjoy the result given by the gods without giving that sacrifice, then that person is said as a stena, is a thief. You are getting it without giving something. So if you want a particular result, then you have to do that yagna and get the result from the gods, that is from the devas. Only then it will nourish both of us. Instead, if you continue to get the result without giving, then that person is said as a thief. And in the 13th verse, Lord Krishna again says, Yajnasishthashinas santah muchyante sarvakilbishaihi bhunjate te tvakam papah ye pachantyatmakaranat. What Lord Krishna says is, if we do a sacrifice and accept the remnants of the sacrifice, then we are free from all sins, all papa. But at the same time, if we get the result without doing any sacrifice or without giving, then we are eating our own papa for the one and only reason we are cooking for the selfish purpose alone. That is, even if we are not able to do a sacrifice in a very elaborate manner, in a very grand way, at least we must do our daily pujas and offer something to God as naivedya and accept it and take it back as prasada. So in this way, we are freed from our sins. So that's what Lord Krishna says. And for a householder, there are 5 types of yajna said in the Shastras. The first is the deva yajna. That is what we do it for the God by doing the yajna in a very elaborate manner. If we are not possible to do that, if we do not have the convenience in doing that, then the Rishi Yajna or Brahma Yajna is considered as superior. That is, we have to read the Shastras written by the great Rishis. They have written this work or they have revealed this knowledge only for the future generation to get benefited from it. And if we do not use it and ignore it, then that is a papa. Then we are not using our life. See, this Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, and Sri Vedavyasa coded it for the future humanity to get benefit from it. If we ignore it, then we are not using that Rishi's words. So it is a papa. So if we cannot do any sacrifice or yajna in a very grand way, at least read the Shastras and get benefit from it. And the next is the Pitru Yajna, giving this libations to the Pitru, that is the mains. And the next is the Dri Yajna, that is giving to the people who are in need. And another yajna is the bhuta yajna, that is giving what you have, sharing what you have with the small insects or the birds or to the fellow beings. So these are the 5 Pancha Mahayajna said in the Shastras. So what Lord Krishna says is, if you just consume what you have only for our selfish reason, then your papas will not be dissolved. Our sins will not be dissolved. Only by giving, our sins will be dissolved. So at least you have to do this yajna and get the result. So Lord Krishna in the beginning emphasized the karma yoga. That is the best thing to attain liberation. If you cannot perform karma yoga, then just don't be inactive. Do at least the obligatory duties, your own duties, which gives the result. But best is doing an action as a sacrifice to the Lord or not with a selfish motive. At least that is enough. Because in this world, all the other actions are bound. So we will be again and again involved in the transmigratory cycle. So do an action as a sacrifice for the sake of doing an action or as an Ishwararpana or for helping others. Do that. Then if you cannot do that, at least do a sacrifice and do an action. By that way you will get the desired result. And for the people who want their result, particular result, this is better. One has to give something. Only then our papa will be dissolved. All our sins will be dissolved. So give it to the devas and get the result. Just like how we get by praying the Kamadhenu. If you do not share and enjoy the result alone, nor without giving to anyone, then our papa will not be dissolved. So these are the meaning of the first 13 verses of chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. I think I can take a break and continue with the rest of the Bhagavad Gita in my next video. And before I conclude this video, I'll chant the last verse of Bhagavad Gita. Yatra yogeshwara Krishnaha yatra partho dhanurdaraha tatra shri vijayo bhutihi dhruvani tirmatirmama. Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu.